They called this 170-pound beast a failed fighter, but what he did at 3 a.m. proved he was a hero. When a shadow entered the house, Blackhole didn't attack, he chose a path that shocked everyone. The city was drowning in a wave of crime, a rising tide of burglaries and fear that forced everyone to turn their homes into fortresses. Alex, living with his protective parents, knew they needed more than just a security system. They needed a sentinel. When they arrived at the High Ill shelter, the atmosphere was heavy with the scent of abandonment and the echoes of desperate barks. While others chose small, friendly pups, Alex felt a magnetic pull toward the back, toward a cage that seemed to hold a shadow. There he was, Blackhole, a 170-pound titan, a jet-black masterpiece of nature, with shoulders as wide as a doorway and paws that looked like they could crush stone. The shelter worker's voice trembled as he explained that Blackhole was rescued from a brutal dogfighting ring. Alex looked at the dog's intact ears and long tail, confused by the lack of traditional fighter markings. The worker sighed, explaining a dark new trend where fighters kept dogs natural for better entertainment. But Blackhole was different. He was a failure in their eyes. He didn't fight, he fled. Every time he was pushed into the ring, he would simply sit down, refusing to engage in the bloodlust, choosing instead to wait for an exit. He was a soul of diamond trapped in a body of steel. Alex saw the deep, hollow sadness in Blackhole's eyes, oceans of rejection that had been building up for years. He signed the papers immediately, ignoring the warnings. Before we continue, if heartwarming rescue stories touch your soul, please subscribe. Your support means everything. Hit that subscribe button right now, you won't regret it. Now, back to what happened next. When Blackhole first stepped into Alex's home, the air left his parents' lungs. They didn't see a pet, they saw a monster. But the moment his massive paws hit the floor, the unexpected began. Blackhole didn't growl. He gently took his parents' hands in his massive jaws, not to bite, but to tenderly guide them to the couch. He then did the same to Alex before collapsing his massive, oak tree-like body across all three of them, demanding nothing but the warmth of a family he had never known. Weeks passed, and a beautiful yet strange ritual began to take shape in the household. Every evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, this massive powerhouse would transform into a giant toddler. Alex's mother would stroke his velvet-soft ears, his father would rub his expansive chest, and Alex would massage his heavy paws until the giant fell into a deep, snoring slumber. However, the peace was fragile. The neighborhood was still on edge, and the fear of the serial burglar loomed over them like a dark cloud. One night, the silence of 3:42 a.m. was shattered. It wasn't a normal bark, it was a primal roar that vibrated through the floorboards and rattled the windows in their frames. Alex bolted upright, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. He rushed downstairs, followed by his terrified parents, expecting to find a scene of carnage. Blackhole was standing by the open garden gate, his fur bristling, his eyes locked onto the darkness. He looked like a terrifying statue of justice. The family, consumed by the sudden adrenaline and the fear of Blackhole's fighting past, snapped. They yelled, they scolded him for the noise, and they forced him back to his bed, frustrated by the midnight disruption. They thought their gentle giant had finally snapped, that the beast they feared had finally emerged from the shadows. The atmosphere in the house turned cold, and they went back to sleep with hearts full of doubt, never realizing that the very noise they hated was the only thing standing between them and a disaster. The next morning, a frantic knock at the door changed everything. Their neighbor stood there, tears streaming down her face, explaining that an intruder had been inside her home, but Blackhole's thunderous bark had scared the criminal away just in time. The fighting dog they had scolded was actually their neighborhood's silent guardian. Overwhelmed with guilt, the family rushed to Blackhole, who was lying on the couch looking dejected and small, despite his massive size. They didn't just apologize, they wept. They pulled him into their arms, letting him know he was their hero. A year has passed since that terrifying night, and life has transformed into a series of beautiful, repetitive moments. Blackhole is no longer a rescue dog, he is the soul of the home. The 170-pound giant has turned his lap-sitting habit into a mandatory daily ceremony. If they don't sit together, he lets out the most heartbreaking, melodic whimpers that pull at your heartstrings until they comply. Alex no longer needs an alarm clock. Every morning, he is woken up by a massive, wet tongue and a wagging tail that hits the bed like a drumbeat. Blackhole has become so much more than a pet. He is a living reminder that the most scarred hearts often have the most love to give. He spent years being forced to hurt others, but now he spends every second making sure his humans feel safe and adored. The neighborhood that once feared his shadow now greets him with treats, and he responds with a gentle wag, forever choosing peace. He watches over the garden gate not with aggression, but with a quiet, regal wisdom, as if he knows his presence alone is enough to keep the darkness at bay. His steel-like muscles, once meant for destruction, now serve as a soft pillow for the people he loves most. Even during the loudest thunderstorms, Blackhole remains the calm center of their universe, leaning his heavy head against their knees to remind them that fear is a choice, but loyalty is an oath. Every scar on his body tells a story of a fight he refused to win, only so he could survive long enough to find his way to this very living room. He isn't just a dog, he's a 170-pound miracle that teaches them every day that the strongest muscles are the ones that hold a family together, and the loudest barks are often the ones that save souls. As the saying goes, the world breaks everyone, and afterward, many are strong at the broken places. Blackhole didn't just survive his past, he transformed his scars into a shield for those he loves. But now, I want to hear from you. If you were in Alex's shoes, would you have trusted a 170-pound dog with such a dark past, or would the fear have been too much? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.